You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Fargo After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Fargo After Show.
Hello, Fargo fan club. My name is Jillian Leff, and I am going to be the captain of your AFTERBUZZ ship tonight. We're switching things up this episode. Unfortunately, Oriana is out, David is out, and Sarah is out. So it's just me here. I have a surprise, though. A new co-host, bringing flavor to Fargo.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, JB Zimmerman.
JB is in.
If you guys are frequenters of AFTERBUZZ, you might recognize JB from the HBO series
Silicon Valley.
There we go.
I also do IFC's Marin, and starting tonight, Riot on Fox.
Amazing. So he is going to do a fantastic job with me tonight. So the least you can do is tune into his other shows, right?
Of course, right.
Okay. So starting off this episode, episode 6, Buridan's ass. Molly. Molly is dead.
know. Spoiler alert.
Oh, no
But I mean, if you're
spoilers.
watching this, I feel like you just watched the episode, or you should watch it in that order.
I'm
Very
shocked.
sad face. Sad face.
You saw me. My jaw was to the ground.
Yes, that was a surprise. I definitely didn't see it coming. I mean, they built up right before it.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of seemed like that was a possibility when he just took a blind shot in the dark or in the blizzard snow.
I was really hoping that it was going to be Mr. Wrench, the other hitman.
Of course, of course.
I mean,
silence.
That's who I thought it was, because there was no noises. You know, it was just a shadow,
Right.
a shadowy figure. And then we walk up, and at first I was like, oh, wait, looks like a bigger figure. That's because the person had a huge coat on, and it was Molly.
Right, very sad. Well, we'll see what happened to Mr. Wrench, hopefully next episode.
I hope so.
But the sounds that he did hear, the gunshots,
Mm-hmm.
seem to be more pistol-like in their nature. Again, I'm not a
Ballistics
Yeah.
expert? Yeah, there we go.
Exactly, but I feel like he should have, Gus, I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
should have maybe gotten a little closer to the scene before firing his off his...
Listen, Gus looked, first of all, he was shaking like a leaf when he was holding the gun. You know,
True.
we know that Gus is a little bit of a poussé. I mean, he really
Slightly, yes.
doesn't...
He wanted to be a mailman, people.
I
Okay.
know. We find out so many things about him. You know, I need to mourn over Molly.
Of
So
course.
let's mull over the rest of the episode.
Absolutely. One thing, though,
yeah, go ahead.
if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm surprised because it is so cold, blizzarding specifically in this episode more than normal.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever shivered in the whole thing except for Gus. I mean, it was more a scared shivering, a nervousness, as opposed to the cold. I guess maybe they're just acclimated to those
Well,
freezing
they
temperatures.
do
but-
film in Canada, so it was definitely cold. But I think maybe they're just concentrating on their craft.
Fair enough.
You know,
Of course.
Just really focusing.
Definitely.
So at
The
the top,
acting's very good. I mean, I don't mean to hate, but
no,
I was like, ooh, it should be colder.
Interesting, Fargo fans. So we open up the episode with the restaurant scene with what looks to be Mr. Numbers and Mr. Wrench's boss. Terrifying.
Yes, he definitely seems like the Mafia Don type. Interesting that they were at sort of a combo lobster Hawaiian Asian fusion type place.
He ate a fish head, like
Right.
sucked the fish head and chewed it. Ugh. I don't know. Anyway, he brings up Sam Hess, which is sort of like the ding ding, the keyword for us
Right.
as an audience. And he just says, you know, whoever's responsible for that, they need to be killed. Kill and be killed. So the guys look shocked.
Yes, he definitely lays down the law. Obviously, a little bit more forceful than I think they were thinking. Maybe he's just fed up with how things have gone thus far.
Right.
So it seems like he's sort of stepping things up a bit.
Well, they've been doing sort of a back and forth game. You know, they have been investigating Mr. Wrench and Mr. Numbers, I'm talking about, and they really haven't found anything concrete. You know they pressured Lester when they were all in the jail cell together last episode. So they got a name, Lauren Malvo. Obviously, they find him, which we'll talk about later in the episode. But this was a nice opening and a nice setup to all of the chaos that was about to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm very curious how they found him. I mean, it's so hard to see anything. That's sort of why the shootout was able to take place in the fashion that it did. And he was able to escape somewhat is because there's zero visibility.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a cool thing they do with the cinematography, making no real edge to the landscape versus where the skyline.
It was a complete whiteout.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved it. So then we go to the cupboard in the kitchen with our with our lovely trainer, who is there, Dawn, still trapped in the closet. Not the R. Kelly version, the Fargo version. And
it's the remix.
It's the remix, exactly. Yeah. And he is, still thinking about his spa that he wants to create, the Turkish baths, and he's really dreaming. And then Lauren comes and snatches him.
Yes.
And
we know when $43,000 put to good use.
We know when Lauren comes, it's going to lead to no good. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Look what happened the last time. He was locked in a closet overnight.
Yeah, I love his character though. Billy Bob makes the show for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm as a new special guest, I may say that he is my favorite character. I'm a big the chief, who was oh my god, blanking on his name.
From Breaking Bad.
Yes, exactly. Love him too. I feel like he's not utilized as well with his acting skills as much as Billy Bob. Thornton just knocks it out of the park.
Well, at least we'll see him in Better Call Saul, right?
True.
Yeah.
True.
Saul Goodman will be back.
Indeed.
So Lauren asks him to make
Bob
a call.
Odenkirk.
Bob
Sorry.
Odenkirk, yes.
Tip of the tongue. I had to get it out.
There we go. It's okay. So Lauren asks him to make a call, sort of the final call that he needs to make to Stavros to where as to drop the money off. So as far as that whole exchange between them, when he throws the voice changer down and all that, I mean, I love how Dawn's character, or Dawn as a character, is just so stupid.
Yes, I completely agree.
You would think after he was locked in a closet overnight, he would learn slightly that, I don't know, maybe this guy is a bad guy.
Well, I love how they kind of make that commentary of everybody being so uneducated and just, it's a basic child's intelligence that could answer these questions that they ask. I mean, Don, for instance, looks in the bag. What's this duct tape for? Like, what what else could it be for? It's that kind of lack of thinking before they speak that it makes it almost comical.
Don.
Yes. He's got more problems than just that. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we can start with the tanning.
He can
bronzing.
The bronzing, yes.
Of course.
No,
gotta make
he
that
can
differentiation.
he can rest in peace in his Turkish bath
I
in the
know,
sky.
so sad.
So he's calling Stavros, obviously, and he decides, or Lauren decides that he's going to. A lot of the show has been based off of tall tales, fables, things that have happened in real life. We'll talk about it later in News and Gossip, what this week's title actually means, because it is based off a real story. But he decides to read this story about the boy who had nothing. Very reflective of Stavros's life. Scared the bejesus out of him. I mean, you saw his face. Sweating. And he wasn't just sweating because of the Adderall that he's been taking.
Yes.
And asks him to meet him in the parking garage. So if you were in that situation, since you are new to for the Fargo fans,
Of course.
how would you deal with being blackmailed, sir? If he went to these crazy depths, the person that has been blackmailing you sends locusts on you, makes you shower in blood, kills your dog.
Yes. I think, especially because of how he came about into the money, was sort of that whole thing, it's not really a huge loss for him to give it back. It's sort of like all these signs building up are so cut and clear in his mind that, you know, I need to return this. Like, it's a bad omen.
He got greedy.
Yeah, exactly. I would definitely return it.
Okay.
If I was being blackmailed in some other way, you know, it could be a more of a gray area. I feel like because it's so cut and dry where he found that money. Obviously, Billy Bob found out about it, and so was able to sort of parlay that into more specific target.
Right.
I think in his mind, plus he's being drugged, so there's
He's
kind of
just-
a lot against him at the moment.
So Lauren ends up knocking the trainer out after he sort of does his job of making the call. And we go to Molly and Gus, who finally meet up, and Gus is totally freaked out about the fact that his Jewish neighbor told him that Lauren was in his neighborhood in the front of his apartment. I loved that exchange last episode between Billy Bob and the neighbor. He has this amazing ability to instill so much fear in someone. And for the neighbor to sort of stand his ground, I thought that was fantastic.
Definitely. I mean, Billy Bob, and that's part of why I like him. His gravitas is outstanding. It is completely overpowers every character. And that's sort of how he steamrolled by Gus in the first place. I mean, he just has that intensity just in his eyes. I mean, he says so few words, and it's still just jarring. Like, please go, continue on your way. Like, we didn't have this conversation, sort of.
And, you know, I say Gus is a dimwit a lot because he is in pretty much every circumstance, but the neighbor has the wherewithal to give Gus the license plate of the car that Lauren is driving. And it ends up coming up that it's the grocery chain's car.
Right.
So, again, it's like, you know, these two are getting the clues, like, spoon-fed to them. You know, it's not like Gus... everything is sort of like happenstance with him. He just like comes upon these things. These things are happening to him, and he is just he can't figure it out.
Yeah, I think they talk about, or not really talk about it specifically, but use the show in other ways to show how sort of out of their element they really are. I mean, they're dining on that date, and all these cars whiz by, the cops going to the first shootout at Don's house. And they have no idea what it's about.
Well,
and
they're
they're
just
both,
like, oh, geez, what's happening?
Exactly. They're just like, oh, wow, that's so strange. Why
Back to my coffee cake.
Yeah, just pardon the interruption, ma'am. Very strange. And they have no idea what it's about. They're just so out of the loop that it seems that repeats itself in so many ways. I mean, they're shown these clues. Molly before was sort of picking up these more. You know, specifically in the last episode, she went to the laundry machine.
Yes.
Which I thought was a little far, but I mean, granted, Lester has not been the best at covering his traces.
Yeah. I think that the reason why Gus and Molly worked so well together was that Molly just really needs somebody to listen to her and back her up.
Right.
She has the skills. You know, she knows what she's doing, and her sort of gut is always right. And just to have Gus there and to back her up and to sort of corroborate the stories makes her, you know, feel 10 feet tall.
Right.
So from there, we go to Lester in the hospital, which if the Fargo fan club watched last week's episode, I was really excited about it. And my prediction came true that
Nice.
Lester was
Nailed
going
it.
to break out of the hospital jail, dressing up as his roommate.
But did you predict he would break back in?
I did not. That was a nice twist. See, I thought that he was just going to leave, and because he doesn't seem to think things through. I think this is sort of the first intelligent criminal act that he's committed, because he sort of half-asses things. Like he kills his wife, and then he hides the weapon in the house where people can find it, and then he rehides it. He does all of these things that sort of don't make sense. You know, he doesn't really ever think things through. So with this plan, at least, there was a start and there was a finish, and he made it to the finish line this time.
Exactly. I mean, he's very short-sighted. He's basically like, how do I get that? And even with this master plan, I feel like it's still... I didn't see him breaking back in originally when we were watching it, but had he not done that, I mean, it would have been like caught with your hand in the cookie jar. So guilty.
Yeah.
So much worse than just staying in. I mean, he probably could have figured out a way to talk his way out of the cop situation, or at least not look as guilty. But if he was caught bouncing town, curtains for him. And plus, he even stole someone's car at the hospital.
Oh, you're right. Well, he returned it.
True.
It's back. He did what he had to do.
Definitely. Just had to run that errand. Frame your brother real quick.
Yeah, just a little errand, because his brother, actually, in the hospital room, when his brother comes in, he basically says, there's always been something wrong with you, and I don't want to deal with you anymore.
Harsh words, obviously.
So harsh.
Do you have siblings, Jillian?
I do. I have a brother.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Excellent. I have 2 siblings as well, 2 sisters. There's definitely been words exchanged multiple times throughout the years, but I feel like there's never really an undying love. I mean, we say these harsh things because we can't lose family sometimes, and you can push the boundaries more than you could with a friend, which you can lose. So it's interesting to see him take it so far, and both of them. I mean, they basically said, I don't. Like, this is over. Like, his brother basically told him, not in exact words, but I don't love you anymore.
I don't think that his brother really ever did. And that's the issue. It's always been, from the dynamic that I see with them, even when Lester's wife was around, it was like, okay, well, he's the golden child. He's always been. He has the good job, the nice toys, the hot wife. He has a kid. He has sort of everything, and Lester has nothing. And that was sort of what caused tension between them. And I think that at first, the brother was like, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of the shit. Like, I'm the big man here, and okay, failure older brother. Like, let me show you how it's done. And now, I mean, they're like, I wouldn't blame him for disowning him. I think that the true colors have shown. I was waiting for this for a very long time. Very shocked that he even took him in the first place. Because we saw reservations all along the way. He breaks his gun, he gets frustrated. All these things that have happened, just they're very weird dynamic. And I think the only reason why he took him in was because his wife was dead.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like we obviously haven't seen the whole story.
Right.
But it didn't seem like things were that bad originally. I mean, obviously they must be, because Lester just framed his brother for everything. But I feel like even with all Lester's faults, he's still not innately like a lazy guy or really that bad. I mean, he's just can't do any right, basically. He's just so short-sighted, and it's not because of a lack of ambition, it's just because of a lack of that skill set.
He just constantly fumbles.
Right.
He attempts, but it's never a goal.
Exactly. And that's why I sort of feel bad for him, because it seems like he is trying, he just can't do it. It's like he's doing his best, but his best is flat out awful.
And he is just in a downward spiral.
It is.
I thought we might have seen him hit rock bottom, but ladies and gents, there are 4 episodes left.
True. We have a lot more.
I don't think we've seen it. So after Lester breaks out, Gus and Molly quickly go to the grocery store, and they find out that Stavros is not there. So Stavros is in the car now, and he's ready to do the drop-off. And he sort of, his older assistant, his name is not in my mind right now, but he calls him, and the guy is at a cabin with his son, keeping him safe and protecting him. And Stavros sort of has this epiphany, and he's like, I know what I need to do with the money. I need to put it back where I found it. Like, I wasn't expecting that.
I was not either. I mean, I feel like it's sort of too much everything that was sort of compiling on to that Billy Bob had orchestrated, that he may have just snapped and said, you know what, I gotta put this rock right where I found it, and just rewind everything.
Well, I think he's thinking, this is God. Like, God has spoken. This is it. I need to do what he's going to want. And what he's going to want is for me to leave it where I found it.
Exactly. And it's basically returning it back. So nothing was ever taken. It's the same, replacing where we were.
Exactly. And again, he doesn't need it.
True. He's
a millionaire. He has the grocery chains now. That was sort of his like beginning lump sum.
Exactly.
So Gus and Molly have this quick exchange about two-faced people before all of the shiz goes down with Lorne and the trainer and newspapers on the windows and setting him up with the guns on the exercise bike. What did you think of that?
That was a very crazy scene. That surprised me how meticulous it all was. I knew that Billy Bob was obviously a bit of a badass.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty clear from episode 1. But this was was really surprising how well thought out the whole plan was. I mean, the tripwire, the cops, he obviously outsmarted everybody. And even still, when he was being tracked down by Mr. Wrench and
Mr. Numbers.
Mr. Numbers, thank you. He still sort of figured out a way to outsmart them, even though he was being double teamed. So it's pretty crazy that he basically thought everything out. I mean, granted, his competition is not the most intense. I feel like Don is not the most hardcore of an adversary.
I just, I had a hard time feeling bad for him, Don, speaking of. I had a hard time feeling bad for him up until the moment where he was taped to the bike. Because this guy who has literally done nothing but help Lorne execute his evils is now going to go down, and he's going to feel so much pleasure from it. Because we know how Lorne feels when, his plans are executed perfectly and people die. He loves it. He's sadistic. He feeds off of it.
Definitely. He definitely seems, Lorne at least, seems like he thrives off of the chaos. We saw that with the motel when he was checking in. He sort of spun that whole situation into a tailspin. And it seems, again, that he wants to make it a bigger scene. I mean, it's sort of, obviously, Don, I feel bad for as well, because he got the rough end of the stick. But at the same time, it's sort of a commentary on the cops of the situation. They definitely overreacted slightly, I think.
I honestly, is that how things roll, cops? Is that how things roll? That was terrifying. I understand that there was a tripwire outside, but if you're going to have a SWAT team of sorts, aren't you going to check to see if any of that stuff is around before you're walking through it? A black wire in the white snow. You're not going to notice that. Thank you, television, for making that possible, because I feel like in real life that would have been caught.
Right.
But that's sort of what started the whole okay, or at least in the sheriff's mind, the okay to begin open firing on the house.
And it's interesting. I think that sort of helps the storyline with, as viewers, root for the bad guys, or air quotes, the bad guys, because it is sort of a muddy waters situation. Having the cops overreact like that, having the cops be so incompetent, shoot first, ask questions later, is obviously not the best way to diffuse situations.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to see that. At the same time, obviously, we the bad guys can't always win in the end, as we know. So it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with the last few episodes.
And I have to say, for anybody that watches this show, I also host the American Horror Story After Show. And I know that FX has been pushing the envelope on what they can and can't do on television. That death was intense. All those shots.
Mr. Numbers?
Really?
Or, okay.
No.
Oh,
well,
Dawn.
that was, but Dawn's death.
Dawn's death, definitely.
That was some big time stuff. And I thought that American Horror Story was scary. I had to look away. I couldn't even look at it. I was just like, so much blood, so many holes everywhere in the body. Yeah, that'll be haunting my dreams tonight, I think.
Definitely. I'm a big Glenn Howerton fan, so me as well.
But you liked it.
I thought it was a well shot scene. It was very cool how the light was sort of silhouetting him. But
I mean, the cinematography in this episode was amazing. Especially, we talked about the light and dark contrasting.
Right.
And just, we're getting to it, but out in the snow. Just, that was so beautiful and hazy. And I loved that. Because that is exactly how it would look if you were there.
Definitely. I've never been to Fargo or Duluth.
Well, in a bad snowstorm.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're a West Coaster. You don't know.
Hey, well,
I've been through some blizzards, kid, okay?
Whoa. Is that East Coast style weather?
Yeah.
Well, the West Coasters visit the mountains from time to time when we want to, but then we always come back to the beach, so I can't complain.
So after poor Dawn is dead, Lester sort of finishes what he started when he broke out of the hospital, and that's framing his brother, like we said before. But even worse than that, putting a gun in Gordo's backpack after wiping it off with a scarf, which does not remove any sort of DNA, unfortunately. So I'm sure that's going to come back and bite Lester in the butt.
Exactly.
Sure.
And even if it did pay off, I mean, the short-term gain versus the long-term one, would he really want to live with himself knowing that he just incriminalized his own brother? And if, say, he got a life in prison or the death penalty, how could you look yourself in the mirror after that? I mean, his brother has a family, a wife that's... He didn't murder.
I honestly don't think he cares. I really think that Lester is just all about making sure that Lester is okay at the end of the day. I mean, we've seen what he's capable of. He killed someone. It's not... He is bumbling, but he knows what he's doing.
Definitely. I mean, he did kill his own wife in cold blood right there. I mean, it's...
We know what his temper holds.
And again, I love the little aspects that the production team threw in when he was in that scene with his brother in the hospital. Even though he's the older brother, they sort of unkempt his hair a little bit so he would seem more like the kid. And in a lot of ways, I think he still is a kid. When he sort of had a Mexican standoff with Gordo, his nephew, he sort of froze like a deer in the headlights, just like Gordo did, and they had this similar reaction where they're sort of on the same plane. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I'm just going to slowly
just gonna
turn away.
Back away. Yeah. Oh, Gordo. I think he's going to become more of a larger character in this episode. And Fargo fans, we are going to have the actor that plays Gordo call in either the next episode or the episode after that. So be sure to tune in. Yay. Yeah, he's amazing. His name is Spencer. We've been chatting on Twitter. So hi, Spencer. So after all of that happens, we obviously see Molly and Gus on a date. We hear Gus's backstory, which is something that all of the panelists on the show have been craving. We find out that his wife died, which we were wondering, what happened to Greta's mom. And then we find out that he never wanted to be a cop, which I think deep down in our hearts, we knew that.
Yeah, that adds up for sure.
He doesn't really seem like a cop.
Yeah.
Just from how he holds a gun.
Exactly.
Like,
and sort of
like this. Shaking.
Just shooting in the dark.
Shooting anything.
Definitely. I mean, it seems like he sort of fell in that role whenever he's with Molly, too. He's the sidekick. And she's running the show. She's wearing the pants.
Well, you even saw how nervous he was when she heard the shots go off, and he was like, shouldn't we call for Bet?
Right.
And then he started running towards her because he honestly didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's ever been in this type of situation. He mostly gets the calls that nobody wants to take, the animal control calls. He has the uniform, but he really has done nothing to prove himself to the force.
Exactly. And he knows that he's incompetent. He said, with the dogs, a rabid dog when you see it. I am so out of place here, basically.
Yeah.
And then again with... everything that he does. He was checking Mr. Number's pulse and said, I think he's dead. Like, his neck was slit open.
It's zero confidence. It just, what I did like was the entire next thing that went down. Lorne driving in the car, the fender bender happens. At first, I thought it was just an honest fender bender, and I was like, oh man, this stinks. Because it was so snowy out. I was like, oh, obviously this is going to happen. The road's icy. And then when we see Mr. Wrench and Mr. Numbers pop out of the car, that's when it got exciting. Definitely.
I mean, things went down for sure. I'm surprised that they were able to track him. So I'm curious how I mean, obviously it's just for TV. So I think the timelines may be scheduled so things happen in that kind of sequence. Mm-hmm. But because he just came from the holdup in Don's house, it seems like very convenient that the other two guys on the trail are sort of right there at the right time.
Exactly. And we sort of see, Lorne's skills as a hitman, as a, just all around horrible person, as he slits part of his hand open and leaves a blood trail, because he knows that, like any good dog, they'll sniff out the blood.
Exactly. And again, that's his wherewithal. He's so aware of the situation. He was able to not get hit. So he has to cut himself to sort of leave that trail. And it's very cool that he's sort of above everybody else. Even these enforcers who are supposedly good at their job, got it out of Lester. Obviously, there's more of a hierarchy of intelligence here.
Right.
But yet, those two are still not good enough to equal one Lorne.
Oh, jeez. It kills me. It kills me. Not as bad as Mr. Numbers was killed, though. That was disgusting.
True.
Sarah is going to be so upset. She's at the Dancing with the Stars finale tonight. So when she hears that her beloved Adam Goldberg has since passed, she's going to be very upset.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, she loves him. So then the, whole Gus and Molly.
So I guess, I mean, we don't know for sure because it wasn't confirmed that she was dead, although it does not look good.
Yeah.
Perhaps that relationship might not bloom, which is sad.
I wanted this so bad, JB. I wanted it so bad. They're both so awkward. I just wanted it.
I know. I mean, the best we ever got was awkward tension at best.
There was some hair fixing, some sexual tension.
Definitely.
It was just like
they had coffee multiple times.
It was just a lot. I'm very sad. If she does end up, this is the end for her. I don't even know what's gonna happen now, because now is Gus going to take the lead on all of this and sort of avenge everything for killing Molly? Is he going to go down if she's actually dead? Because he sort of has this insane moral compass to admit to everything, and is he going to say, like, I killed her, this is what I did? Like, he's met her father, he's looked her father in the eyes, like, Lord, this man, and he has a daughter. What's gonna happen to poor Greta?
I know, they need to rekindle the family.
Oh my God.
But there's more episodes left. Hope is not lost.
I
feel like we could turn it around. I mean, there's, 4 episodes left?
4 episodes left, yeah. So we still have some time. But, one last thing happened, which we are both confused about, Fargo fans. What is with the fish? I tried to Google why there would be fish.
Raining
fish. I Googled why fish would come out of the water. I thought, oh, maybe the air is warmer than the water, but I think water is warmer than air, so why would this happen? Also, were they even by water? We can't see. It was so white.
Yeah, it's pitch white.
So we're just really curious as to why did they fall out of a truck? We have no idea. So if we are complete dum-dums and you have the answer, please comment under the video with the answer. I will also be tweeting out with using hashtag #FargoFanClub this exact question about the fish. So the fish basically kill Stavros' son and Stavros' bodyguard. And he is feeling great. He just buried this money, and he comes back and sees the car on the side of the road, and the rest of his life crumbles beneath.
Definitely. I mean, I think the timing, again, is so perfect right after he brings it back, sort of to say that he made the wrong decision. Everything in his life just exploded. I mean, the 2 people he did care about are gone now. Yeah. It's so sad to see directly after he does what he thinks is right, that's sort of the answer that he gets almost immediately. So I don't know if there's another way that that character can see it other than this is a direct reaction to what I just chose to do.
And this means that Lauren will get his money.
Right.
Or Lauren is one step closer to getting his money. And besides that, I mean, the episode sort of ended on the perfect note. Lester back in his hospital bed, smiling, a nice shit-eating grin.
Yes, exactly.
On his face.
After completing the perfect plan.
Yeah, I mean, framing your brother, framing your nephew, hopping back in bed. Let's enjoy the ride.
Yeah, well, that's done. Dust it off. But yeah, there's still so many clues that I feel like they have to figure out. That's why I don't know if they'll kill off Molly this early. Because if it's up to Gus, even clues this obvious, I don't think would be picked up.
Oh dear Lord, I hope.
But there's definitely breadcrumbs throughout the episode. I think when it zoomed in, we were talking about this while screening it on the poster that they have in Lester's basement.
The fish
with
poster.
The fish, exactly, where he now chose to hide the hammer. It sort of zoomed in on the middle fish, which has always been sort of the one swimming the other way, was covered in blood, sort of in a similar shape as the hole. So that's definitely an indication of how things may play out. If they do find the hammer in his brother's place, you know, they're obviously going to check Lester's house again. I can't believe he wouldn't think about that. Sure and why wouldn't he just destroy the hammer? Like, why wouldn't you just take it out of the equation?
Oh, Lester, we may never know, sir. We may never know.
Exactly. A lot of unanswered questions, unsolved mysteries.
With that said, I think we are done with the episode recap, and we have some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Take it away, sir.
Well, like you mentioned before, we teased with the title of the show, Buridan's Ass. It's a paradox, actually. I believe it's a 14th century French in origin, but it's a paradox of free will. Basically, the story goes, a donkey is put in the middle of a bale of hay and water, and he is equally hungry and thirsty. Because he's in equidistant basically to both of those options, he can't decide what he wants more, and he ends up ultimately choosing none of them and dying of thirst and hunger. So it's similar in the to the episode, obviously, with Stavros sort of juggling what he's going to do with the decision.
Right.
And sort of, again, choosing incorrectly, it seems. And obviously, there's lots of death in the episode.
Absolutely. Oof. Okay, well, I dig that. I like it. Fargo fans, if you have a parable that you think should be a part of the show, or maybe you can make a prediction yourself of something that you think is going to happen based on these sort of random stories that they've been pulling from, let us know, obviously, in the comments. And with that said, I think we need to predict, don't we?
Definitely.
Okay.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So, I don't know about you viewers.
TV.
Ooh.
Hi,
Ooh,
I was once like
that?
you, a lazy angry
Sorry.
loner who's only
The soundboard is going crazy.
Oh no, everything's crashing down. Okay, so for you viewers at home, we here did not see a preview for next week. I don't know if that's different from you all, but we're just sort of going to go off of what we think.
Genuine predictions.
Genuine predictions. I know this is crazy. We actually have to think. Oh my God. So I would love to see. So I think that Molly is dead. That is something that I mean, I don't want her to be dead, but I think she is. And I'm hoping that what is Bob Odenkirk's character. I'm hoping that Bob Odenkirk is sort of her champion, because as we saw in the last episode, he sort of believed her for the first time.
Right.
And there was sort of a breakthrough there. So I'm hoping that through all of this, if her life is over now, he will sort of carry on with Gus, you know, under his wing, because that little duckling cannot fly.
Right.
Or at least we don't think he can. But maybe Greta gets involved too, because Greta also knows Molly and made that connection there. So we'll see. I think that the next episode is going to be very Salverson-centric. What do you think?
I agree. If I may piggyback on
Go
that
ahead.
prediction for a moment, I think Molly may have had her last episode, sadly. But I think hopefully Bob Odenkirk makes a comeback. And as you said, he really had sort of the first belief of Molly. And that sort of went against what he thought of Lester, and having known him before as sort of a genteel dullard. Definitely sees how the dots are connected and sees the clues. I mean, he's not a terribly unintelligent guy. I feel like he has more of the cop instinct than, say, Gus. And hopefully Gus gets a little more gravitas from his daughter. I think all of this chaos that he's been through might be a moving forward point where he's sort of seen the worst it can get and can move forward and really grow. But in terms of Billy Bob, I think he's gonna keep thwarting the punishments for a few more episodes at least, or at least I hope that.
Yeah. I just want to add too onto my prediction that, Gus hasn't really felt any consequences yet, direct consequences. So I think that he's also going to start experiencing them in the next episode. And you know what? That is our show for tonight. Where can the people find you outside of this lovely room?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JB_Zimmerman. And also, they can watch the other AfterBuzz shows I do, Silicon Valley from HBO. Starting tonight, Fox's Riot. And on Thursdays, Marin on FC.
Amazing. Well, once again, I am Jillian Leff. You can find me on Twitter at Jillian Leff. You can find me on Instagram at Jilly Leff. And I will be gone next week. So this man is going to fill in for me, so you will see him again. And hopefully the normal panel is back. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to like us, comment, and hopefully the AfterBuzz TV site will be back up for you soon. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.